Hey there everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by this book. When I first received a copy of the book from the publisher, I was very excited, but as I had a lot of things on my plate, not that that's changed, um, my excitement level for it did go down. And I did have to refresh myself, like, okay, what was this book about again? You know, it is inspired by, pardon me, pre-Columbian Americas. And I have to say, sorry, I have a very upset stomach today. I have to say that you really do get that feel of Native American culture in this story. I, for me, when I was reading it, I was imagining, um, I didn't really see any characters as white. Uh, and the author, she doesn't rely solely on description in order to get that feel for the characters to create a diverse. She doesn't go in depth about their skin color or their hair texture. She is just, she uses language to kind of get this feel across. If you are familiar with Native American culture, and not, I'm going to say this, not a Native American, but someone who's familiar with Native American culture, I am 1/8 Native American on my grandfather's side, of which I'm very proud of. And um, so I consider myself Native American, but I have yet to register. It's a whole thing. Yet to register with the clan to like be officially Native American. So I consider myself Native American, but I'm not Native American. I wasn't raised in that culture. So that's what I'm getting at. If you are someone who was not raised in Native American culture, but are aware of their customs, their history, and more importantly, and their mythology, then you're definitely going to see that reflected in this story. As far as actual Native Americans, I don't know how they're going to feel about this story, only because the author herself has stated she is half Native American, half African American. You definitely see that in the story. Like I said, you're not imagining these characters as white in any way, shape, or form. You are imagining people of color as these main characters. And I think that that's what's really engaging for the story. But as far, there is some dispute. There has been some, the tribe she's claiming to be from have no record of her registry. Maybe her parents didn't register her. Maybe she didn't grow up on the reservation. You know, I don't know all the facts. I just know what I read. So that does hinder some of the accuracy for the storytelling. I acknowledge that. I respect that. Um, so if there are any Native Americans who are out there, you know, if you read this book and you're watching this, you know, let me know what's what, basically. I think the author, you know, she has married a Navajo man. She did practice law, and she became she became a lawyer to defend the rights of Native Americans, pretty much. And I respect that from her. So clearly she has an appreciation for the culture. And I think you do see that in the story. I know I got a little off track. I just wanted to give some history behind this story because there has been some awareness, you know, with cultural appropriation. I don't think she's a culture appropriator. Um, when we're children, we just misremember things or we remember things a certain way. But her mother is Native American. That is true. Her father is African American. Um, that is also true. Those are two facts. Um, so that's that. She is a person of color. And I think it's really cool to see her reflected in the storytelling as a whole. I really do think it is engaging for me to read because I loved these characters. And the novel follows three central characters. You have Yala, you have the Sun Priest, and then you have Serapio. And Serapio is from the Carrion Crow clan, kind of, sort of. His a mother, I don't want to spoil anything. His mother did something to him when he was a child to make him a vessel for the Carrion Crow god to come back and enact a vengeance against the Sky Maid people. So I guess these would kind of be lighter skinned individuals who think they're better than everyone. I say that as a light-skinned individual. I am not ignorant of my privilege. I'm 100% Mexican, but no one ever knows that until I tell them, like, yeah, Zacatecas and Jalisco, or until I start talking in Spanish. But I am not oblivious to my white privilege, because I am light-skinned. But that's neither here nor there. The Sky Maid people, they do look down. You get to see this, especially with the Sun Priest. Again, the story is in three different parts, three different perspectives, and it's mostly linear. And I'll talk a little bit more about that storytelling, that pacing in a second. I want to focus on these characters for a couple minutes. She is from the earth, and she, in essence, dug her way out of the earth and rose above her station, and now she's a Sun Priest. So everyone who is Sky Maid, from all these clans that don't live deep in the earth, because she does. She grew up in the Maw, so it's like a canyon deep in the earth. That's where she came from, and everyone looks down their nose at everyone who lives down there. Why? Because privilege. That's why. Social status. And I like that this book really does delve into social status, does delve into racial injustices, it does deal a lot with politics when it comes to clan beliefs, because there are a bunch of different clans. They're all kind of butting heads, but they are at a sort of peace right now. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But you have the Sun Priest, and she's kind of facing all of this injustice. And I like how she rises above it. She's just like, you want to say that you're better than me, but you're not. Everything you're doing right now, how you're treating me, it's like, that's not better. Like, you're not better. Like, karma's gonna come back to you, and I'm gonna show you I am better than what you think I am. She's willing to put others above herself. She's willing to make deals with scrupulous characters if it's going to save the lives of thousands of people. That's what she's willing to do. She's willing to forsake her own life to help others. So it makes her a really good character. And I think all these narratives together, they do balance themselves out perfectly, because you're seeing how this church, in essence, I'm just going to use church in essence, wants to sort of brainwash everyone and be like, no, your gods don't exist. It's all just, you can just use science. Witchcraft doesn't exist. And it's just like, some fantasy does exist. Some magic in this world does exist. You can't tell me otherwise. Right? And this is a fantasy novel. This is a sci-fi fantasy novel. And it's a very good sci-fi fantasy novel. They all balance themselves out. They balance the story out. They are somewhat morally gray characters, but I like that because there is depth to them. There are levels of complexity to their characterization, which I do think adds more to the story. I think Ziala is my favorite, though. I love her. She is Teak, and everyone looks down their nose at Teak because they're like other. They're like otherworldly. They're like sirens, basically. They can sing and calm the ocean, and in times of great distress, turn into mermaids. we do get to see that here, and I thought that was like, whoa. It was a really great moment for the story, especially for Ziala to really come into her power. She's facing a different sort of issues than the Sun Priest. She, as a woman, she does face, as a woman and as a Teak woman, faces uh, racism. She faces sexism. She faces misogyny. You see the people on her ship, they distrust her and they don't really like her at all. She's just useful to them. But I think a lot of their hate for her comes from the fact that she is a woman and she has power that these men do not have, which of course rose her to the rank of captain. So she's constantly butting heads with these people on her ship, and on the ship she meets Serapio. And I like their dynamic. I like how they're both treated as otherworldly, and so they do form a common bond and a really good friendship with one another. Ziala really does come to care for him deeply, and he comes to care for her as well, Serapio. Now, as for Serapio, he is, like I said, his mother did something to him. I don't want to give away what. When he was a child, to make him a vessel for the crow god. He has been taught by tutors his entire life what's expected for him to be a vessel of the crow god, what exactly he's supposed to do, even if it means his death. He is supposed to bring the crow god back, to have their vengeance for all the injustices that have happened to the Crow clan, And I think it's really good because this isn't a life he chose. This is a life that was sort of forced on him as a child that he has just come to accept. And it's not until he meets Ziala that he really comes to understand exactly what he's giving up, what he's sacrificing for his people. And it's a really touching moment to see that, because you really do get to see his character growth and his character development. And he's quite formidable. I do like he's really soft-spoken, and now we're going to get into storytelling. His narrative isn't always linear. It goes from his childhood, recapping everything, and the chapter title will just tell you where exactly you are, so it's not like it's leaving you confused. It is very clear, it is very concise, it is paced very well, so you're going from when he was a child to present day. Sun Priest and Ziala, their narratives both take place in present day. His is from past to present. So it is still linear, of course, but when you get back to him, sometimes you'll be Sun Priest, Ziala, Serapio back in time, Sun Priest, Ziala, Serapio back in time. It's not until later in the book where you're meeting Serapio and his perspective is solely just in present. There's no more going to be back in time. So I like how that was written, because sometimes when authors do that, they kind of take you out of the book and it's kind of a little jarring. But it's, like I said, concise. It is well written. I love the pacing. I love the imagery. I love the development of the story and all the challenges that these characters face, that they have to overcome. It's a lot, but it was really good. It was an exciting read. I was thoroughly happy to read it. I highly recommend this book, 100%. So, this was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Go ahead and give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not quite 5, didn't quite blow me away, but I do think it was an expertly told story, and you do get to see her appreciation of her culture that she came from, that she's connecting to, the Native American culture, and I do see some African American culture in there as well, and I think I don't know if that was intentional, but you are seeing this author on the page, and I like that we're seeing the author put herself in the page. So, once again, Black Sun, give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you want to purchase the book, please purchase from your local online book retail. If you want to check it out, just check it out from your local library. And on that note, I hope you all have a great, wonderful day. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and share it with all your book loving friends. You can also become a supporter on Buy Me a Coffee, or you can become a supporter by purchasing one of my handmade candles. There's links to all of that, including where to purchase the book, in the description below. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. As always, happy reading.